The bus driver, Frank Carter, had driven this route for 20 years. Same roads, same stops, same routine. But tonight felt different. It was past midnight, and the city streets were nearly empty. His only passenger sat in the far back, a tired-looking man staring out the window. Frank checked the mirror. The man hadn't moved for the past 30 minutes. The bus rumbled toward its final stop, a quiet intersection near the outskirts of town. Just as Frank prepared to call it a night, a figure emerged from the darkness. A woman in a long black coat stood by the bus stop, her pale face barely visible under the dim streetlight. Frank opened the doors. The woman stepped in without a word, gliding down the aisle before taking a seat in the middle row. Something about her made Frank uneasy. As he pulled away from the stop, a shiver ran down his spine. Tension builds, the passenger who wasn't there. Frank kept glancing at the woman through the mirror. She sat perfectly still, hands folded in her lap, her face blank. "Rough night?" he asked, trying to break the silence. She didn't respond. The man in the back suddenly shuffled forward, sitting just a few rows behind her. He seemed nervous, his eyes darting toward her. Frank frowned. Maybe they knew each other? Then, something strange happened. As Frank turned a corner, he saw the reflection in his mirror. The woman's seat was empty. But when he looked back over his shoulder, she was still there. His grip tightened on the wheel. I must be tired, he thought. But the man in the back, he looked terrified. The bus rolled into a tunnel, and for a brief moment, everything went dark. When the dim interior lights flickered back on, the woman was now sitting 2 rows closer to the front. Frank's breath hitched. She hadn't moved. He hadn't heard footsteps. The man in the back whispered, barely audible. "You see it too, don't you?" Frank swallowed hard. "See what?" The man leaned forward, voice trembling. She wasn't supposed to get on. A long silence stretched between them. Then the woman slowly turned her head toward them. Her face was blank, her eyes impossibly dark. Frank slammed his foot on the brakes. The tires screeched. The bus jerked to a stop. Frank turned fully toward the woman. His gut told him something was wrong, something unnatural. "Miss," he said, voice shaking. "This is the last stop. You need to get off." She tilted her head, not like a normal person, but at an odd, unnatural angle. Then, in a voice that sounded layered, like multiple people speaking at once, she whispered, "This is not your bus." Frank's blood ran cold. The man in the back clutched the seat in front of him. "She's not real." The bus lights flickered violently. A deep static hum filled the air, growing louder. Then, everything went black. When the lights flickered back on, the woman was gone. Frank looked around, breathless. The bus was empty. Even the man in the back gone. His radio crackled. "Unit 47, come in. We received reports of an abandoned bus at your location. Do you copy?" Frank grabbed the radio. "What? I'm still on my route." Silence. Then, "Sir, that route was shut down 10 years ago." Frank's hand trembled. He turned, looking at the empty seats, the eerie quiet pressing in. A chill ran down his spine as a final realization sank in. He was driving a bus full of ghosts.